Hello everyone and welcome back to Car Venus 14. Now today we are talking once again about Jinhsi, because that's what we do on this channel. We talk about Jinhsi in Wuthering Waves, and also do some playthroughs, but you know, no one really seems to be watching those, but it's fine. We're all here for Jinhsi today. Alright, so what am I here to talk about with Jinhsi? Well, as you all know, 3.0 is coming around the corner. In fact, 3.0 literally launches next week Thursday on Christmas Day. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty nice Christmas. So yeah, both a Wuthering Waves update and spending time with family and friends, that's gonna be cool. But what I'm here to talk about, guys, is a new character coming out in 3.0, right? Mornye. Now, as you all know, Mornye is looking to be a really good support unit that's coming out into the game. Now, of course, she's not completely perfect, but we're going to talk about that later on. The first thing I want to talk about is the different things that she can do, not just specifically for Jinhsi, but that can help Jinhsi's teams, right? Now, as you all know, Jinhsi really has only two supports. Well, everyone only has two supports that they can reuse. Verena and Shorekeeper, and Buling, I should say. Buling is also there as well. But the thing is, none of them are really the best for her, because... Actually, no, sorry about that. I was contemplating on saying that, but then I thought, you know what, it might actually be a pretty nice thing to say. So Verena can give 2 stacks to Jinhsi in terms of incandescence because of her coordinated attacks, but because she's Spectro, she can't give the full 3 stacks. The thing is Shorekeeper gives 0 stacks because she's Spectro, and she also doesn't have coordinated attacks. Buling can give 1 stack because she does do coordinated attacks, but she is a different element. Mornye is in Buling's category. She can give 1 stack, but she doesn't have coordinated attacks, so she can't give the full 3. Now, the thing about Mornye, though, is that she's a premium unit, okay? She's not like Buling, who is a 4-star unit, right? She is like Shorekeeper, who is... Oh, sorry. She is a 5-star unit, along with Verena, but Verena's a standard character, right? Whereas Shorekeeper is an actual limited character, so Shorekeeper has a higher ceiling than Verena does anyway, right? So Mornye is kind of in the ballpark of Shorekeeper, but Shorekeeper doesn't give any stacks. Mornye does, which actually makes her quite nice for Jinhsi because it means sub-DPS stacking doesn't need to be as intense as with Shorekeeper, right? Because sub-DPS doesn't have to do all the carrying, right? Usually they would in Shorekeeper teams, but with Mornye, they can relax a little bit, right? Yeah. I don't think it will change much when it comes to Jinhsi's personal stacking mechanic. I think it'll still be perfectly fine, but you'll just have more leeway for more mistakes, making it a bit more beginner-friendly for Jinhsi teams. Now, the thing I mainly want to talk about is the different things that Mornye can do for Jinhsi's team. Not Jinhsi's teams in general, not Jinhsi's team, sorry, but everyone's teams. But I want to make this, you know, kind of linked towards Jinhsi, because this is a Jinhsi channel at the end of the day. So yeah. The first thing she can do is apply a mark on opponents that gives the opponent a 40% increased damage taken. Meaning, when the opponent is marked, your team will deal 40% increased damage to them. That's huge. Now, I will have to say, all of this buff does scale with her energy regen, just like Shorekeeper's buff does, except the damage dealt buff goes up to 40%. The maximum is 260% energy regen needed to get the full 40%. Now, I know what you're thinking. For those of you that have seen the leaks, and they have seen Mornye's kit, you will know that the 40% does have a huge catch. And don't worry, I will get onto that later on. But I want to name them down first. So, increasing damage dealt by 40% towards marked targets. That's what Mornye does first. The second thing is that she increases damage... Her outro skill, I should say, guys, increases all damage types by 25%. Damage types is not to be confused with damage attribute. Damage attribute is all of the elements. So, for Jinhsi, it'd be Spectro, right? Yeah. So, the elements Spectro, Havoc, Aero, Fusion, Electro, Glacio, all of that. Damage type is Resonance Skill, Resonance Liberation, Basic Attack, Heavy Attack. That's what Resonant damage type is. So with Jinhsi being a Resonance Skill damage type, that means she'd get a 25% Resonance Skill damage type increase, right? Yeah. Which is really, really nice, okay? Really nice, actually. And actually, truth be told, because Mornye increases all of your damage attribute, like all of your damage types, it means you're getting 25 basic attack, 25 attack, heavy attack, 25% resonance skill, and 25% resonance liberation damage. You're getting all of them, not just one, all of them, right? Yeah. So that's really good because it means your, Jue's laser beam and resonance skill is going to do hit harder, and Jue's lightning strike, which is the ultimate, is also going to do hit harder. But yeah, I do call Illuminous Epiphany, which is the massive laser beam that Jue shoots down. I call it Jue's laser beam for those of you that are new because it quite literally does look like a laser beam, but not really. So yeah, Jue's laser beam and then Jue's lightning strike, which is the ultimate. All right. So yeah. Or, Jue's Cinema Strike, because, it looks like absolutes. Moving on with the video, stay on point. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, Jinhsi is goated. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to say, but, Jinhsi is goated, that is one thing to say. So that's the first thing, those are the first two things, guys. Increasing damage dealt by 40%, and the second thing is increasing all damage types by 25% on the outro skill. The third thing is, we're going into a bit of sequences here, right? The sequences and refinement, so a bit more of a spending territory. But her S2 increases her crit damage by 32%, okay? 32%, alright? That's pretty good, okay? It is her S2, but we'll get onto that in a bit, alright? Then there's her weapon, which once again is a bit more of a money-spending thing. But her weapon also increases your crit damage by 20% at R1. It scales to 50%. Sorry, 40%. Yeah, so her S2 increases crit damage by 32%, and her weapon increases crit damage by 20%, and it goes up to 40% at R5. The fifth thing is her Echo set, which is called Halo of Starry Radiance. Now, that one increases everyone's attack by 25%, okay? So, to go over all 5 of the things, 40% increased damage dealt, 25% damage attribute type increase, okay, on her outro skill, 32% crit damage from her S2, 20% from her weapon at R1, which scales to 40% at R5, and then her Echo set, which gives 25% attack boost, okay? Now, there are some catches and concerns and caveats to Mornye's kit. Number 1. The increased damage dealt that Mornye gives, right, the 40% increased damage dealt that Mornye gives is tied to the new tune break system. So everyone can trigger off tune, okay, everyone can do that. However, in order to actually activate the damage dealt increase mark, you need to trigger tune strain or tune rupture, okay, or rupture. I don't know if it's RU or RA, I can't remember, but I'm guessing it's tune rupture. So yeah, I'm gonna call it tune rupture. Now, you need to trigger off-tune, and then you need to trigger tune strain or tune rupture. The problem is for those of you that know about this, Linné is the only one that can actually trigger tune strain and tune rupture. She's the only unit in the game that will be able to do it, right? Which means, yes, unfortunately, Mornye doesn't give you the 40% damage dealt increase if you don't have Linné. However, there is a workaround to this. Unfortunately, it's not a workaround that a lot of freeze-play players will be able to get, unless they've been saving for a long time. You need her S1 in order to get around this. Mornye's S1 makes it so that you no longer need to trigger tune strain or tune rupture. You only need to trigger the off-tune mechanic, and then Mornye will apply the mark. You don't need tune strain or tune rupture anymore. However, like I said, if you don't have the Astrites, you won't be able to get this, because you need her S1 in order for this to function. Without her S1, you are tied to getting Linné, or just not being able to use the damage dealt increase that Mornye gives. Which is a real shame, because honestly, this is the one thing that makes Mornye not really universal per se. In order for her to truly be universal, you need her S1. Otherwise, you need Mornye to be paired in teams with Linné, right? And the only units that can really use the Linné are basic attacking units and resonance liberation units. So Calcharo teams, Zhang Liao teams, who else was on the list? Camellia, that's it, Camellia teams as well. Basically anyone that loves basic attacking, or anyone that loves resonance liberation damage, or anyone that can do both, right? They'll want to use Linné, but if you use Linné, obviously you're going to be using Mornye with those teams. Well, not obviously, but you know, Mornye synergizes really well with Linne because of it, and teams that can use both those new units are going to benefit really well. But for everyone else that only wants Mornye but not Linne, like Jinhsi, will suffer, because obviously Jinhsi can't use Linne because Linne is number 1 Spectro, and number 2 doesn't benefit Jinhsi, but doesn't benefit Jinxi's damage in any way. Only Jue's, you know, Lightning Strike, Jue's ultimate basically, Jinxi's Resonance Liberation. Only that gets benefited, which isn't a majority of her damage. Not in every rotation anyway, is what I'm saying. Jue's Laser Beam is the thing that's doing all the damage. So Linne is completely useless for someone like Jinhsi. And the fact that she's also Spectro completely kills off any form of incandescent stacking that you will have. So, yeah. That's kind of the drawback with this team, guys, right? With Mornye and Jinhsi, you will need to have Mornye's S1 in order for her to be useful with Jinhsi, okay? That's really the only caveat I can think of. Other than that, Mornye genuinely seems to be a really good unit paired with anyone in the game if you have her S1, and she works really well with Jinhsi because she's literally just a Shorekeeper replacement. Someone that can scale as hard as Shorekeeper can, who probably is the hardest scaling healer in the game, because unlike Verena, who's a standard unit, and unlike Wuling, who is a 4-star unit, Shorekeeper is a limited 5-star character, meaning she needs to have some form of premium. And she does. She definitely has that form of premium. Mornye will be no different, like any other character that's come out in the game before. All limited units in gacha games have to be good. Really good. Okay? And that's why Mornye will also have the exact same power scaling as Shorekeeper, but that she'll obviously be even better because of all of the stuff that she gives. And she has to be better because why go for Mornye if Shorekeeper can do just the same? And a lot of players already have Shorekeeper, right? So, yeah, it makes no sense for Mornye to be the exact same as Shorekeeper. She'll have to be better than Shorekeeper, right? But we'll only be able to tell when she releases, right? So, yeah. But basically, guys, what I'm trying to say is the drawback to Mornye is that you do need her S1. And if you want that S2 crit damage buff, you need her S2 as well. So the main drawback, guys, from Mornye working in every team is literally how good you have been at saving. If you've been really good at saving Astrites, then you might not have a problem with this. But if you don't have any Astrites, then, you know, you won't be able to really go for Mornye. I personally would not recommend pulling for Mornye if you aren't able to get her S1. I would only pull for Mornye if, number 1, you can get her S1, or if you can actually pull for both, if you're actually going to pull for Linne and Mornye. Then you won't have any need to go for Mornye's S1 because Linne will do all the Tune Strain and Tune Rapture triggering for Mornye's buff. So yeah, but like I said, guys, if you aren't able to get Mornye's S1, don't really go for Mornye unless you can do one of the 2 things that I already said, right? Yeah. So that's basically it for this video, guys. I mean, I'm looking back. I remember when I made the video with Shorekeeper and Jinhsi synergy, and how I explained that they have a pretty decent synergy together, but it's not exactly the best. And the main issue with Shorekeeper then was that you need a premium support unit in the game in order for Shorekeeper to work with Jinhsi, which at the time was only really Zheji. Yes, Yinlin existed at the time as well, but Yinlin's coordinated attacks only worked on targets if they didn't die. Once they died, the mark went away, so it wasn't a very reliable source of incandescent stacking, right? Zheji was much better, but if you had Zheji at the time, you were golden with Shorekeeper. If you didn't have Zheji at the time, yeah, you couldn't really use Shorekeeper with Jinhsi because of the lack of incandescent stacking from Shorekeeper, right? It's the exact same situation here, except Mornye is a little bit healthier when it comes to incandescent stacking because she's a different element. The only real drawback is that Mornye's buffs, her major powerful buffs, will not work without her S1. And if you want the crit damage, obviously going for S2, but the main source of Mornye's kit is going to be through her S1, through that damage dealt mark increase, right? So yeah, that is basically it for the video, guys. Another reason Mornye is really good with Jinhsi is the fact that Mornye is, again, another airborne heavy unit. She wants to be in the air constantly like Jinhsi, always in the air, right? You want to be in the air, which makes them perfect for each other because you can't get hit, right? Of course, all the 3.0 bosses and enemies will have some mechanics to deal with aerial combatants, which means Jinshi's advantage that she has right now, being in the air, might not be an advantage in the future. However, for now, it's still pretty good. And even if you are in the air, remember, guys, aerial mobility is actually still really good. Even if you're able to dodge in air, oh my god, you're pretty good, right? You're really, really good. If you can dodge in the air, right? Yeah. So, yes, aerial team is definitely a thing. And also another reason Mornye synergizes insanely well with Jinhsi, guys, is because Mornye looks like Jinhsi. They're very similar looking. I don't know if anyone else saw that when the gameplay was revealed officially in the trailers and stuff, but when I saw Mornye for the first time, her face was very, very much the exact same to Jinhsi, only difference being the pupils. And even the color palette is the same. Mainly white with hints of other colors there. Jinhsi is mainly white with black as a secondary and some blue and some gold accents. Mornye is white with main color and her secondary being purple with some other accents here and there, right? When I first saw Mornye, my brain was straight away just like, that's just Jinhsi. That is literally just another Jinhsi. I'm not even joking. That genuinely just looks like Jinhsi, right? That would be crazy to not get her. I mean, obviously, it's not really... You can't really tell because, you know, currently I have the skin on. But without the skin and base Jinhsi, yeah, that is what, you know, Mornye kind of looks like. So, yeah. Jinshi's just adorable. What can I say, man? Like, you know, she's cute. Wife material. I shouldn't be saying these things, you know, to a digital character, but, you know, it is what it is. So, yeah. But anyway, guys, that's basically it for the video. Just a real quick video, short video. Well, shorter than usual, I would say. Just a short video, basically talking about Mornye, how she can work well with Jinhsi, and what benefits she brings to any other teams that Shorekeeper can also kind of do, but better. So that was a really silly way of phrasing it. What I meant to say, guys, is this is basically just a video talking about the synergy between, well, the slight synergy that Mornye has with Jinhsi compared to Shorekeeper and Jinhsi teams, and also talking about the benefits that Mornye can bring to the table that Shorekeeper can't, right? Yeah, like the damage dealt increases and the attack, well, yeah, the damage dealt increases. Another advantage, actually, that Mornye can bring, just to let you guys know, compared to Shorekeeper, Mornye makes your teams tankier. She gives interruption resistance and defense bonus increases as well. Yeah, she actually does. Take a look at her kit, and she literally does exactly what I said. So, yeah, she makes your teams tankier, and she also lets them do more damage. That's really, really good, honestly. Yeah. But anyway, guys, that's basically it for the video. I hope you all enjoy. I will probably be making a video on Mornye and Jinhsi when Mornye comes out, but that's not going to be for a while, because Mornye is coming out on the 15th of January in the second phase of 3.0, not the first phase. It would have been amazing if she came out in the first phase, but it's also good this way, because more time to save, right? So, yeah, she is coming out in the second phase, so for those of you that do want to do a bit more saving, you're welcome, because, you know, she's coming out very, very later on. So yeah, but at least until then, guys, expect some more Jinhsi content, because remember, I am always on the grind. I'm always making Jinhsi stronger than she currently is. I'm always going to try and make her stronger. If there's a new Echo set that comes out for Jinhsi, I'll make a video on it. If there's a new character that comes out that Jinhsi can work really well with, like what I just did with Mornye, and also previous characters in the past, I will make a video on it, right? If there's a new weapon that comes out that Jinhsi can use, and it's better, I'll make a video on it, right? It's every single thing related to Jinhsi. If it can make Jinhsi better, it doesn't just mean, like, in terms of damage, it also means in terms of playstyle, in terms of looks, like I did with her skin, right? Which was one of my more popular videos, actually, on the Jinhsi videos, like how her skin looked and stuff. Yeah, literally anything related to Jinhsi. If you are a Jinhsi main, do subscribe, because I've got a, you know, I've got a feeling that Jinhsi's only going to get better from 3.0 onwards. Or she could fall off like a cliff. But even then, I'll be making videos on why Jinhsi is still a good character without inhaling a bunch of copium. So, yeah. But don't worry, guys. Jinhsi is still a strong unit if you are contemplating her. She's still a good unit. She's still strong. She's just getting outmaneuvered by a lot of newer characters nowadays. So, yeah. Other than that, stay healthy, guys. Stay safe. I have been Carvenus14 and still am, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you all very, very soon. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone. Goodbye.